Hi, this is Professor Stugard, and welcome to Intro to Machine Learning. So, what is machine learning? What are we going to be learning? Well, machine learning is a very broad subject that actually includes a lot of different disciplines where the main idea is that we're going to use computers, obviously that's the machine part, and we use computers because computers could really help us identify patterns in data that might have gone unnoticed by humans. A lot of times this has to do with big data, right? Huge data sets that no human would be able to really analyze on their own. Machine learning is when we let the computers build a model based upon training data, and then the computer itself is able to improve that model given more data without any additional human effort. So basically, we write our algorithm or our program so that the computer can actually get better at doing its task simply by looking at more data. It'll be able to better identify those patterns. And again, that's important because patterns are how we make predictions. And so what we're trying to do is get the computer to learn, given more data, to get better and improve its ability to make predictions, because predictions are very, very valuable. And like I said, machine learning is a very broad subject. And again, it's used in lots of different types of contexts, as we will see throughout this course. So the theory behind machine learning. Well, again, this is an introduction class. So we are going to discuss some of the history of machine learning, some general theory, and definitely some of the limitations of machine learning, of which there are actually quite a few limitations of machine learning right now. But it's only an introduction. So we're going to be creating models. We're going to be using a lot of programming and algorithms that other people have already created. This class is really just a starting point. To fully understand machine learning, well, you're going to have to actually study a bit of advanced mathematics, and you're going to have to become a very proficient software engineer or a coder. Now, the mathematics. So if you do want to become a proficient person who designs machine learning algorithms, what kind of mathematics are you going to have to learn? Well, first of all, linear algebra. Linear algebra is how we use vectors and matrices to express or encode data, and then we can leverage the fact that almost every programming language has optimized these linear algebra processes. So again, as you continue through your machine learning or data science career, you're going to see that linear algebra is really at the heart of almost everything we do when it comes to building different types of models. Then there's also calculus. Well, calculus is actually part of that learning part of machine learning. So that's because, again, what we're trying to do is get a computer to do a job better, which means we're trying to optimize our machine learning algorithm. Optimization means calculus. And typically what that means is derivatives. Derivatives are rates of change. And so particularly machine learning actually uses multivariable calculus and vector calculus together, which is typically your Calculus 3 course, to do things like calculate gradients and find minimums and really let us improve our models in a meaningful way. And then lastly, there's a lot of probability and statistics. And of course, understanding probability spaces, being able to use Bayesian statistics, which is really how do we improve our models if we have a hypothesis and then our data, and then well, what's the likelihood of our hypothesis being true given data, and what's the probability of the data being true given hypothesis. And again, we'll get more into depth with each of these. So the thing is, of course, there are individual classes in each of these subjects. So we're going to be touching on just a little bit, just some of the basic concepts that allow us to do machine learning effectively. And so you're going to see each week we kind of supplement some of our machine learning with some basic math ideas and how they're used. And again, you would obviously have to take full courses to really understand them in real depth. Then comes the programming aspect. So This is also very broad. So how do we program machine learning? So first of all, there's R, and if you took the Intro to Data Science class, you learned some R. And again, R is the default language for almost all types of statistical analysis or even statistical computational things. R is an open source programming language. There's lots of packages that we can install. We can build models using it and use a bunch of machine learning libraries. And we'll be looking at R just a little bit here and there throughout this course. Python is the other main programming language when it comes to machine learning and data science. And that's what we're going to focus on a lot in this course. Python is also open source. There's lots of available packages. There's some default packages that we're going to be installing with almost every program we write. And typically Python is considered one of the more user-friendly programming languages to learn, easier to read, easier to write, easier to understand. And so we're going to be using that a lot. That is going to be the majority of what we do in this course is using Python. Now, although those are the two most popular languages, those are not the only ones available. And depending on what we're trying to do, there are other languages that might be able to do these things better. Java is an incredibly popular language across a bunch of different disciplines, which we can use. Julia is another good one that's been showing up more and more when we talk about convolutional neural networks. And when we get to those things, we'll probably actually use Julia a little bit. Haskell, really, that's a mathematical programming language. Hadoop, that's a big data type of programming language. And again, they all have their strengths, their weaknesses, and they all have different applications of which they would be the most useful. And to be the best machine learning or data scientist, I should say, out there, you're going to have to learn a bunch of different languages and hopefully understand when to leverage what types of language for which type of job. Now, for this class, we will be using Machine Learning for Dummies, the second edition. Every single week, you're going to have reading assignments, typically covering multiple chapters. This is a really great introduction book. There's nothing too sophisticated that we can't talk about in class. It's relatively cheap too. You should be able to find it for about $20. And then a lot of weeks, you're also going to be expected to research some of these topics a little bit further. So there's going to be a lot of reading in this class. It's about a 400-page book or so, and we're going to try to get through the entire thing through this semester. So for this intro course, we're going to be doing a little bit of math, a little bit of programming, and then a lot of reading and talking about some of these main concepts that go along with machine learning. Now, what are you going to be expected to do? Well, first of all, discussion posts. A lot of reading, and then we're going to actually be trying to foster kind of a community here in our classes where every single week there's a mandatory discussion posts. Some will have required word counts and required replies. Other weeks will be slightly less formal, but that will be every single week. And then the only other part of your grade is going to come from quizzes and programs you might write. So every week there's going to be a short quiz on Blackboard, and it could be on some of the math we're talking about. It could be some on the readings that we're doing, or it could be some on the programming. And then the weeks that we don't have quizzes, you will be expected to actually write your own programs and submit your code, always in Python. And again, once we get to, usually we'll get to like week 3 or so, we'll talk about installing Python and Anaconda and Jupyter Notebooks and all that other stuff so that, again, we become more proficient and more well-rounded in terms of being data scientists and programmers. All right, so that is about it. That's what we're going to be doing this semester in machine learning. And, well, I hope we have a great semester together. So the main idea, again, this is an online class. We're going to try to foster a sense of community as best we can through the discussions, but please always make sure that you reach out if you have any questions, and good luck. Bye.